Dan Rodriguez, Hillsborough Transit Authority.
Rita Bestford, Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. Citizen at large.
How do you proclaim citizen at large?
Great, thank you. Let's see, we do attendance by sign-in sheet. I know I already forgot to sign in. Is it at the front?
Yeah, it's right in the front as always.
Maybe we can just circulate it around and people can
Actually remember that.
read the first.
There are a few on
I always forget. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so while that's going around, we will move to public comment. So is there anyone here to speak during public comment? Anyone online? Don't see any hands raised. So
We had a member arrive.
what's that?
We had a member just arrive.
Yeah, apologies for being late. Dave. No, thanks, Dave. The membership, the sign-in sheet's going around. So unless you want to introduce yourself, Dave, go ahead.
David Sleddy, member of large.
All right, thanks. Okay, so next we'll move to approval of minutes. The minutes were distributed. Hopefully you had a chance to review them. Were there any comments or corrections to the minutes? None? Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the September minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, is
Dr. Vicky.
there a second?
Second.
All right, Dave Sleddy, second. Thank you. So, yeah, we'll just do a quick voice vote. All those in favor of approving September minutes, say aye. Okay, are there any opposed? Okay, so unanimously approved. Okay, next, members' interest and future topic requests. So for new members, it's just an open opportunity to talk about an upcoming event, something that might be related to the committee that's not on the agenda. So anything you want to share that's, is great. So are there any? Yeah.
I've got one. I just wanted to bring up, and Ben, you might be able to help us with this. We used to work with the Gasparilla Kids Parade and volunteer with Tampa Police Department. I don't know if you can reach out to see if that's something that they would like us to help with again at the bike rodeo.
Absolutely. That is actually informally, we were going to discuss it under new business.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
All
All right. Yeah, I just know as the holidays come in, it tends to jump up quick. So good. We can talk about it later then. That's fine.
Okay, and sorry, I don't have the exact reference. I meant to look it up before, but there was a recent report. It was published in the Independent on best and worst U.S. cities for pedestrians and cyclists. I don't know if you saw it. Perhaps we can distribute it after the meeting. But I think Florida had at least 2, if not 3 cities in the top 10 on the bad side of the top 10. So I think I think Jacksonville, Tampa. I don't remember the third. Anyway, any other members' interest? Hopefully something more cheerful in mind. Yeah.
It's not been formally announced, but the city of Temple Terrace is planning their walk with the mayor on Friday, November 21st.
Okay.
I still too.
Yeah, John.
Sorry, didn't need to catch up. On the city of Tampa, the website, the Tampa bike map has been updated. After I explained how we counted bicycle miles, facility miles, they changed it. So because they're trying to match FHWA standards for everything. So
Did it go up or down?
well, now it's just center line miles.
Okay.
So it kind of went down. So we have 204 miles, 21 miles that are separated, low stress bike lanes, 92 miles that are multi-use paths and trails, 8 miles that are neighborhood greenways, and 83 miles of high stress bike lanes, which are you professionals like to ride.
Yeah.
And a reminder that the Oregon Street project, there's going to be a public meeting for second week in December for people to give input. And then on the Twig Street project, they've decided to do a cycle track from Franklin to Nebraska.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be, so that'll be protected like
Yes.
the rest of the sector.
Yes, so we thought,
Oh, very nice.
we were kind of excited about it.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where to where?
From Franklin to Nebraska, downtown.
So most of the east west.
Yeah, just kind of continue.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. David.
I'm also on the board of directors of On Bikes, a 501c3 charity that supports disadvantaged kids by buying, building, and then donating bikes to them. And we've got two upcoming events. December 4th is the Santa's Bike Shop Bike Build, which is at Amelie, now Benchmark Arena. And then we've got the Big Winter Wonder Ride, which the mayor has just committed to join us at on December 6th, which this year is during the day at Fort Brook Park, starting in Fort Brook Park. So if you're interested, certainly there's information available on our website, or feel free to contact me, and be happy to provide you with more info. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You know, what we can do, I think, with some of these events, specifically events that are like December and will be after next month's meeting, then we can get them in the minutes for tonight. So if there's links or stuff that may not have been captured, you know, if you send them to Ben, then you can get them, make sure they're recorded in the minutes. And that way they'll get distributed in November. And thank you. Yeah, Rita.
We're in the process of, adding our shop to the bike friendly business with the help of pedal power promoters.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah, thank you for doing that. And for anybody, well, I guess you said it at the beginning, but I assume the Ben and Jerry's shop is
Yes, the Benny's
in Midtown.
in Midtown,
Okay.
not Clearwater Beach, one day.
Thank you. All right, any other? Okay, great. That's all great stuff. Thanks. Okay, so we have two action items tonight. That'll take care of the first one. I think we have two more applications for our at-large fund.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for BPAC staff. And yeah, as you said earlier, David, applicants, one's in the room right now. Stephen Ayers and Todd here about that. Todd, you're welcome to come up and introduce yourself if you'd like. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Todd Daniela. I've actually, for the last 8 years, 11 months, 8 years, have been working for FDOT District 1 as a consultant. I was working in the transit area, but also working with planning studio as well as systems planning there. One of the projects that I did work on was the Marco Island Loop Trail, which was both a state and county funded trail that was connected to the Sun Trail. I was the PM for that. And I'm here today as an applicant and for member at large. And if you have any questions, be happy to take them. I'm also in the Riverview area, by the way, just west of Fishoff.
Thanks, Todd. One question that always comes up with these is you're going to make meetings in person.
Yes, I can do both. I mean,
Okay.
Currently in the job market, so it'll depend on the position that I get, but I don't see any position in planning where they would state you can't go to a BPAC meeting, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Unless conflict of interest or anything.
Yeah. I mean, and actually I do, this is one of these double-edged swords, right? Because we do need people representing all areas of the county. So having everyone in downtown isn't helpful. But those people obviously can make more meetings, and we've historically had quorum problems. I think that's, as you can see tonight, maybe that's been solved. So you are welcome, of course, to attend remotely when you can't make it, but yeah, we appreciate it. So that's always a question.
Yeah, the traffic was bad, so.
Yeah. All right, any other questions for Tom? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is our other applicant here tonight, or I'm not here?
He does not appear to be now. And I should add, just for context, that just so everyone knows, we currently still have 4 citizen at large vacancies and 2 applicants, including Thomas and Stephen Ayers. But yeah.
Okay, then, well, yeah, so I saw Stephen's application was distributed. Was he asked to attend?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, I think we've been through this recently. I think people are hesitant to approve people that haven't attended, or at least attended virtually, so that we could have a conversation. So, But of course, anyone is welcome to. Yeah, both applications were distributed with the minutes. Maybe you had to click the
This
link.
agenda-
I think the applicants were on the
It's
top.
attached.
Yeah, so you had to
Bring up the, yeah.
It's one of the links
To the share.
in the minutes.
Uh,
Okay, is. Oh, we need, yes, go ahead.
Are you just looking for a motion?
I'm looking for either discussion or motion.
Well, as point of discussion, I'll say that, as a representative of the county government, I'm thrilled that we have an applicant from, outside of the city. And I would make a motion to accept the application of Todd Ngala, a Fishhawk Riverview resident, to serve on the BPAC, with enthusiasm.
Thank you, Christopher. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Brad with the second. Okay, is there any other discussion on the candidates before we vote?
I'd just say, I've worked with Todd in the past. He'll be a good addition to the group. He's got a good insight on transit too, which I think will be helpful. So I think this would be a good person to add to the group.
Outstanding. Okay, well, if there's no more discussion, then we'll maybe just do a quick vote. So all those in favor of approving the applicant for membership on the committee, to say aye or show of hands.
Aye.
Then any opposed? Okay, so unanimously approved. Todd, welcome. There is one more step that the board has to vote on new members. So that, I don't know what the timing of it would be in the next month or so. But that's just a formality, so.
Steve, yeah.
Cool, Steve,
Yeah.
yeah. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. Good talking.
Good afternoon, this is Steve, council members, how are you? My name is Steve Ayers, I'm a Tampa resident, a longtime Tampa resident. I'm applying to be a member of the esteemed Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Thank you for having me, thank you for your time and attention. Yes, I have the opportunity to join this organization.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah,
You're interested?
yeah, I'm a long-term avid cyclist. Been a member of many groups here, group rides in Tampa. I've organized many events from group rides to swap meets for about 8-9 years now. So excited to hopefully contribute that information to benefiting the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. It's a long time resident of Tampa, originally from Lakeland. We've all run into issues here riding around town. You get, an interaction with a car, perhaps you get hit. I think we do a lot to make things safer, and I'm excited to hopefully lend a hand to do that.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, two questions.
Please.
Where do you live, and comment on your ability to make most in-person meetings?
Yeah, I live in Seminole Heights, live by the zoo.
Okay.
So I'm pretty local. Apologies for being late, traffic here. There's probably more people ride bikes. And yeah, I'm fully committed to being at every meeting in person as much as I can.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any questions for Steve? Okay, yeah, I did see your application, and yeah, I think you'd be a good fit, so that's kind of my feedback for doing the application.
Cool, yeah.
So if there's no discussion, then is there a motion?
I'll move to approve adding Stephen Ayers as a member, I think citizen at large, to the BPAC.
Okay,
Thanks, Brad.
thank you. Is there a second? Okay, great. Okay, any discussion on the motion before we vote? Okay, then, yeah, again, just a voice vote. All those in favor of approving Stephen as a member, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Also unanimous, thank you.
Cool.
So welcome. You might have heard me just telling Todd that there's a formality where the TPO board has to approve members before you're an official member, but
Sure.
yeah, but of course,
Should be no issue.
please start. No, I've never seen it. But yeah, welcome your attendance. We have one more meeting this year. In November, you'll get
Can't wait.
notified of that. We skip a December meeting because we meet at the end of the month. And
Sure,
then
sure.
we'll start again in January, but look forward to having you.
Sounds
Appreciate
good.
you and Todd's interest. So welcome. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Okay, then we have one more action item, which is FDOT and FT tentative work programs. So is Elizabeth? She's on.
Yeah. Yes. Good evening, BPAC. Are you able to hear me okay?
We can't, thanks.
Excellent. Apologies that me and the fellow presenters can't be in person today. We are all outside of Hillsborough County attending work functions. But I wanted to set the stage for this item. We are glad to have DOT Jensen Hackett and Turnpike Enterprise Katina Cavicles here this evening to review their respective agencies' tentative work programs, aka their list of projects over the next 5 years. So feel free to ask them any project-specific questions, but the action for you today is to give TPO staff feedback on a letter of comment that will be transmitted by the TPO board. So you'll hear presentations on the projects from our partners, and then would really love your feedback and input on the draft letter at the end of the presentations. So if I could hand it over to Jensen to review the FDOT tentative work program.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to present. So just give me a moment to get that situated. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, as Elizabeth said, Jensen Hackett here with FDOT. I am the Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Program Manager here at District 7 in Tampa, and I'm going to walk you guys through the tentative work program for FDOT's District 7, specific to Hillsborough County. And so first things first, we'll go over a little bit of what the work program update process looks like and how that ties into the state budget, as well as the 5-year work program that FDOT works on as part of all of their projects inside that state budget. So the work program is just a 5-year work plan that includes all public transit, seaport, airport, and rail projects across the state. And it involves anything from transportation planning to intelligent transportation planning, such as ITS and ATMS projects across the counties, highway design, arterial design, right-of-way acquisition, and other construction activities related to projects. And so every year on June 30th, the current year of the work program comes to an end. And on July 1st, year 2 moves up to become the new current year. And so each of those years moves up. The new 5th year is placed there at the very end, and that becomes what is known as a tentative work program. And this is actually where we currently are in the process of the work program development. And so our new year 1, starting next July 1st, will be fiscal year 2027. The following July 1st will be the start of fiscal year 28, and so on all the way out to fiscal year 2031, which will begin on July 1st of 2030. And so this presentation is going to outline changes to the first 5 years of the work program, so any project changes, as well as new projects that are added into the new 5th year, which in this case is 2031. The proposed work program is submitted to the Florida legislature, and that will go to them later on this year for review, and then to the governor for review and signature. A thing to note about this cycle this year is that this year for the legislation is an accelerated cycle. So all that means is the legislature gets together starting in January and lasts through March versus their regularly scheduled March through May timeframe. And so essentially we have to work pretty hard in the fall at this point to get everything together to send up to the legislature, and they're the ones that are going to review all of the projects and the budget, and then pass that down to the governor as part of the state budget coming up close to summer of next year. And so after the governor signs the work program, aka the state budget, sometime on or before July 1st of next year, that first year is included inside the state budget, and the work program is then considered adopted. And so now talking a little bit about the programming strategy of the work program, what do we look for? Well, first, we look to preserve the existing program. So what we're doing is we are updating all of the cost estimates to any projects that are currently funded inside the existing work program. And we are making sure that we have the budget to fulfill all of those projects and programs as part of that existing program. After all that's done, we move into step 2, which is to fund the next phase of the project. So with any of that money that we have left over, what we are doing for is we are looking to fund the next phase. So if a project is funded for planning activities in a certain year, we're looking to fund design as the next phase of that project. If a different project is funded for right-of-way in a certain year, we are looking to fund the next phase, which would be construction activities for that project to close that project out. After that's completed, we move into step 3, which is to add new projects. And these projects are any project that is new to the program in any of those phases. So it could be adding design funds, it could be adding construction funds, any of those that get added newly into the work program comes as step 3. And so now you might be asking, where do we get those from? Well, the first thing that we get them from is from all of our MPO and TPO priorities. So you all assist the TPO board in putting together the recommendations that you all give to the board to approve their priority list every single year. That is our first document that we work off of in order to fund projects as they come through. The second step is to look at any regional priorities. So this would be things such as the SCTPA, which is the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance that governs the Tampa Bay area in terms of regional priorities. And we look to fund projects off of that list that they come up with every single year as well. And then lastly on the list is any FDOT specific priorities, such as the strategic intermodal system priorities, resurfacing programs that we have, and those other projects that are FDOT related. And so the project pages that I'll show you coming up next will show any of those newly funded projects that have been added to the work program, as well as those newly funded project phases, any deferred projects, and then any project of interest. As part of this presentation, there is a list of projects that is in your agenda packets that goes through every single project that has had any changes as of this tentative work program. I'm not going to be touching on all of those projects. I pulled out specific projects related to bicycle and pedestrian activities that I went through and included with this presentation. So that's what you'll be seeing tonight. And I always put in a caveat here before I go to the project pages, which is that last little part on this slide. If a previously programmed project is not mentioned by me tonight, that just means there have been no changes. Doesn't mean the project has run away, doesn't mean that it's no longer funded, it just means nothing has changed. So if last year during this presentation, a XYZ roadway was funded for some sort of right-of-way activities on it, if I don't mention it, that just means nothing else has been added newly to that project. So it's still funded for right-of-way in whichever fiscal year that it is funded for right-of-way activities in. So the first project that we have here is the TPO Transportation Planning Funds. These are planning funds that the TPO staff uses for their planning activities. These are funds that have been added into fiscal year 31. The next is a few transit projects across the county. The first is the HART Transit Corridor Program. These are specific funds that are dedicated to the Metro Rapid Transit route, as well as Route 34. This is the route that goes through the West Chase area for the urbanized center of the Hillsborough County. These are capital funds added to fiscal year 31. The next is HART bus replacements. This is capital funds for those added into fiscal year 31. And the last here on the transit is HART bus stop capital repairs. These are also capital funds for those repairs added into fiscal year 31. All three of these being priorities off of last year's priority list from the TPO. Looking at some bike ped projects across Hillsborough TPO and the county. The first is the Hillsborough County sidewalk gaps. These are various locations across state roadways in Hillsborough County. Design and construction funds are both being added into fiscal year 31 as part of these. The list that is going through to figure out the locations is a list that is done in coordination with the TPO staff and their ranking priority for these. The second one on here is East Hannah Avenue from 22nd to 30th Street. These are urban corridor improvements that are including bicycle and pedestrian improvements as part of this corridor here on Hannah. These are construction funds added into fiscal year 31. Then we've got Bush Boulevard from Dale Mabry to Nebraska Avenue. Again, urban corridor improvements that are including bicycle and pedestrian improvements on Bush Boulevard. Right-of-way funds are being added into fiscal year 27 as part of that project. The next is Fowler Avenue from 56th Street to just east of I-75 in Temple Terrace. This is a bike path and a trail facility along Fowler Avenue. Construction on this is being deferred to fiscal year 29. It was funded in fiscal year 28. We're just bumping it out a couple of months into fiscal year 29. And this is to align with the other Fowler project that is ongoing, that is including resurfacing as well as other operational improvements with traffic signals along the corridor, so that we are essentially combining those into one project. That's why it was deferred just a couple months into 29 to align with that. The next is the Upper Tampa Bay Trail from Peterson Road to Van Dyke. This is the piece that was awarded Sun Trail funds in fiscal year 31 for construction. So that piece of the Upper Tampa Bay Trail will be complete, and that'll get you all the way up to the Sun Coast Parkway along that trail. So this is a really good connection as part of that trail system over there in Western Hillsborough. The third here is Plant City's Canal Connector Trail, phase number 1. This is a trail facility that the Plant City is working on from just south of downtown, following the canal system to the north to Cherry Street Park. This is design funds being added into fiscal year 31 as part of that project. The next are two priorities on the top here: Highland Avenue from Violet to Hillsborough Avenue. Again, urban corridor improvements as part of this project with bicycle and pedestrian improvements going along with it. Construction's being deferred one fiscal year from 27 to 28. Lois Avenue from Cleveland Street to Boy Scout. Again, urban corridor improvements that are being deferred just one fiscal year from fiscal year 29 to fiscal year 30 to align with other projects in the area. And then last on this list is State Road 674 College Avenue from Cameron Driggers Road to east of 27th Street. Urban corridor improvements here. This is construction being deferred to fiscal year 27 at the request of the locals. Some operational improvements, so these could be bicycle and pedestrian oriented, but also include things such as intersection modifications or signalization work as part of them. The first is Palm River Road at 50th Street. This is an intersection specific improvement. Construction is being deferred one fiscal year from 28 to 29. This is at the request of the locals to defer that project. The next is 56th Street from Druid Hill to north of Druid Hill. I know that looks like a typo, but it's not. This is an intersection specific improvement there that includes a rigid rehab. So essentially what's going on is that is going to turn that intersection into concrete at that location. Design is being added to fiscal year 30 with construction being added to fiscal year 31. And then last here is North 56th Street at 113th Avenue. This is another intersection improvement with design funds being added into fiscal year 31. And then a couple capacity improvements. These capacity improvements do include bicycle and pedestrian improvements around the area of the construction for all of these projects. The first is a Hillsborough priority. This is US 41 at the CSX crossing, which technically the limits are just south of State Road 676 to north of State Road 676. This is now near the port of Tampa Bay and the TECO facility down there. This is the bridge and grade separation of that corridor along US 41. Construction is actually being pushed outside of our 5-year program, so it's being deferred beyond fiscal year 31. And this is due to SIS funding reprioritization. So funding has been moved around across the state. And this was one of the projects to be deferred just outside of our 5-year work program. The next is Alexander Street at Jim Johnson Road. These are adding turn lanes at that location to go eastbound on Alexander to northbound Jim Johnson. Construction is being added into fiscal year 28 as part of that project. MLK Boulevard from east of Kingsway to just east of McIntosh. This is State Road 574 in the eastern Hillsborough portion east of I-75. This is a capacity improvement of adding lanes and reconstructing the roadway that do include bicycle improvements as well as sidewalks in that area. Construction is being deferred beyond fiscal year 31. Again, this is part of the SIS funding reprioritization. And then two other capacity projects to note. State Road 60 Adamo from just west of North 34 to east of North 34th Street. This is another one of the rigid pavement reconstruction jobs. So this is specifically turning the intersection from asphalt into concrete. Construction is being added to fiscal year 28, which will come with refuge islands, modifications and those type of structures for bicycle and pedestrian improvements there. And then State Road 60 from Valrico Road to just east of Dover Road. This is another one of the SIS funding reprioritization projects. So construction for that is being deferred to beyond fiscal year 31. And so what does that mean for Hillsborough and the Hillsborough TPO? Well, total funding over the 5 years from 27 to 31 is just over $1.5 billion of improvements across the TPO boundaries and the county. That divvies up into just under $16 million for MPO planning processes that the planning staff can utilize for their planning improvements. Traffic operations and safety receiving just over $18.5 million. Capacity and projects receiving over $600 million. This includes a lot of bicycle and pedestrian projects that are included in that. These are going to be non-standalone bike ped projects. So we'll have a capacity improvement that improves sidewalks, adds trails, add bike lanes, add urban paths. Those type of things are all included in that number. Resurfacing just over $400 million. This is a lot higher than it has been in previous years because of some discussions at the statewide level about improving a lot of our arterials and making sure that our pavement is not degrading at a certain rate. So we've had to up our resurfacing budget. This is sort of helpful for bicycle and pedestrian because it also can move along some bicycle and pedestrian improvements as part of those jobs. So again, capturing just over $400 million in all of Hillsborough County for that. Urban corridor improvements that do include mostly standalone bicycle and pedestrian projects are at about $17 million. Bike ped standalone projects, so these are bicycle and pedestrian specific construction projects at just under $40 million, with about $25 million of that coming from SunTrail funds across the state. Transit receiving over $200 million divided up into operations and capital for that, for HART improvements. Aviation just over $75 million and Seaport just under $85 million as part of that $1.5 billion that Hillsborough TPO is receiving over the 5-year period. And so looking at the tentative work program timeline, again, this is an accelerated cycle, so we had to make sure that we were coming to all the committees and alerting them to the online public hearing that is going on right now. In your packets is a website, and I'll show that on the screen on the next slide as well. This is where you go to make any sort of public comments if you do not want to share them as part of your representation on BPAC, which is what Elizabeth was talking about earlier with that letter of comment going up to your board as a recommendation. If you want to do things standalone, you can go to that website. You can look at all of the District 7 projects and comment on specific projects if you wish to leave your comment. The online public hearing goes through tomorrow, but the website is up there all the time. So you can skip that and go next week or the week after. Just make sure that if you have any public comments that you want to share, that those are placed by November 3rd. If they're placed in there by November 3rd, they will be part of the official record when we package all of this up and send this up to Tallahassee next month to be able to be discussed by the legislature. MPO objections are due on November 11th. That's just a fancy way of saying if the board has comments, so your TPO board members, if they have any comments, they're due on the 11th. Early next year, January to March, this is when it will be reviewed by the legislature as well as by the Florida Transportation Commission and packaged up in a final piece of the state budget. And again, once the governor puts a signature on the state budget sometime before July 1st of next year, that is when fiscal year 27 will become adopted as part of the state budget, and the other 4 years to 2031 will be included inside our adopted work program. And so there's the website for you, fdot.gov/WPPH/District 7. I encourage you to go there. It's got lots of good maps in GIS form, so you can see where all of these projects are located, including the ones that I did not mention that are part of the Hillsborough TPO tentative work program, but are not bicycle and pedestrian specific. The link in your agenda packets is a little bit different, but it goes the same place, I promise. So go ahead and you can click that link, or you can use that one here. Again, public comments are due by November 3rd. I will try to answer any questions at this time, but thank you so much for your attention, and I will turn it over to TPO staff.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah.
I've got a question. Jensen, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here. I don't know if you're able to answer this, so feel free to defer. There was a project that was removed. That was a pedestrian safety project for intersection improvements at Ballard Parkway and Broadway. I was just going to see if there was any additional information about that project and why it was removed, and then if it was reallocated to another location.
Nope. So that one's actually really easy, and I'm so excited to actually have an answer for this one. So this one is actually being done by the locals. And so the county is taking over that project, so we do not need to include it inside our work program, but that one is still moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Kudos to the county.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Jensen, it's Chris Fellerhoff. I just want to clarify for everybody's benefit, including mine. When you mentioned the Hillsborough County sidewalk gaps project, that is limited to sidewalks that are on state roads. Is that correct?
Yes, that is all state highways. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And while I've got the floor, I'll say to anyone involved, thank you so much for the Sun Trail grant. We're excited about it.
Any other questions? I have one. I appreciate you said that some of the other capacity improvements include bike ped improvements, but if I just do the math on the numbers that I saw, 37 million and 1.5 billion, that's like 2.5%. Seems really low. How does that compare with, I guess, previous FTEs? Is there a trend that's getting better, or is that what we should expect?
So that's not a tough question, but you would have to go back on specific amounts for specific projects, and it varies greatly by what is being actually captured inside specific projects. So, for example, if we have a lot of projects in any given time frame of the 5-year work program, and the bicycle and pedestrian improvements are very limited to where the mileage is just very small, it may look like a small number, but they could be really relevant and highly important projects, such as those on the high injury network that Hillsborough has identified, and they would really move the needle in terms of bike and pedestrian improvements. And some other years we might just have very large projects, so they could include 6 pedestrian overpasses, which, pedestrian overpasses are usually more than $10 million now. And so that would make it look like those standalone projects are worth a lot more, but it's just because we're having to fund really expensive bicycle and pedestrian projects. Another thing to note is what's captured in here is always rolling. And I know that I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I want to say that the total amount of funding that Hillsborough was receiving in the work program was something absurd, like $2.5 to $3 billion. Well, a lot of that was because that also included not only the West Shore interchange, which is a very expensive interchange, but also the Howard Franklin Bridge, which was almost $1 billion. So that kind of skewed it to where it looked like the percentages were different, but we were still providing quite a bit of those bicycle and pedestrian important standalone projects within that. So to your specific answer, I still think that a lot of really important improvements are going ahead. So it's difficult to compare it percentage wise from year to year, just because the projects vary so much in that time frame from year to year.
Okay, nope, that makes sense. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so so there was so Elizabeth, is it back to you? I think there was a request for action.
Almost. I believe Katina Kavakles is in the audience to present the Florida Turnpike's work program, and then I'll round this out at the end.
Elizabeth, I did make it. It doesn't matter if you work for DOT, you're not immune to I-4, you're still gonna get stuck in traffic. Do you want to control the slides? Because do I do it from here?
Whatever your preference is, I have it pulled up, so I can do that.
Yes.
Okay. Is that showing?
Oh, yes, it is. I guess.
Oh, that's okay. Good. All right. Let Elizabeth run the show. Okay, that works. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good evening. My name is Katina Kavakles, and I'm the Turnpike Planning Manager. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for presenting our tentative work program for fiscal year 2027 to 2031. Hillsborough County and for the Turnpike is proposing $277 million. The slide you see right now, Florida's Turnpike has 515 miles of unlimited access facility, which provides Florida residents and visitors a safe, efficient, and affordable means of travel. We are in all 7 districts and 21 counties out of the 67, and this is our facility in York County. As you can see, we have the veterans and the I-4 connector, which equates to 20 miles. Next slide, please. The investment that the Flores Turnpike has made, or your toll dollars at work, we'd like to actually showcase 2 specific projects. In regards to the Veteran Expressway emergency stop sites, that project was started in September of 2024 and will be completed in July of this year. The construction cost was $4.8 million. It's pretty much to have a refuge area for our emergency responders when there's an incident. The second project is wrong way driving technology implementation. So we have the warning systems just in case something happens along our facility. The project was started in May of 2022, and it's going to be finishing at the end of the year. The cost was about $10.8 million. The next slide you see is the handout overview. Page 1 has the construction projects that are underway or are currently completed. Page 4 is what is funded in our construction, and page 8 is the not construction project. It's every other phase, PD&E, design, and right-of-way. So the major project we want to talk to present tonight is the widening of Suncoast Parkway, State Road 589, south of Van Dyke Road to Lutz Lake Fern Road. There's a variety of phases, as you see, and the overall funding will be $277 million. Next slide, please. We have a lot of other projects. Our other widening projects or resurfacing projects, as you can see, along their Suncoast and Veterans, and they're programmed within this within the 5-year work program, averaging about $11 to $12 million for those various other projects. And then our final slide for tonight is our National Teen Driver Safety Week. We wanted to address the high rates of car crashes among our teens. This week aims to educate teen parents and communities about safe driving behavior and the risk associated with teen driving, such as distracted driving, speeding, and driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thanks. Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right. So Elizabeth, back to you. Or
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jensen and Katina, for talking a little bit about those projects. So as Jensen mentioned, every time DOT issues a work program, all the MPOs are offered an opportunity to comment on the tentative proposed work program. So I'm just going to provide you a summary of what's in this draft letter, and then we'll be seeking your feedback, and then ultimately staff is seeking a recommendation to forward this to the TPO board for transmittal. So within the letter, the first part acknowledges the investments that DOT is making on some of the TPO's priority projects. Jensen did a great job talking about them, so I will only highlight a few. One thing I think we're really proud of at the Hillsborough TPO is the investment in multimodal projects, particularly with HART. We help fund their basic transit infrastructure program, replacing their buses, as well as contributing to the heavy maintenance facility. Like Jensen mentioned, there's also some funding to continue to advance Plant City's Cow Canal Connector Trail. The next portion of the letter acknowledges the disappointment that we share with the Tico Streetcar Extension Project being removed from the DOT work program due to the status of state New Starts funding, as well as the FTA's decision to remove that project from the Capital Investment Grants program due to lack of a financial plan. So the letter acknowledges that and then encourages DOT to continue to support the city and HART as they work through the PD&E for the extension over the next year or two. The next paragraph acknowledges the department's commitment to their investment in the interstate system. The West Shore Interchange, is a huge project, over $400 million for safety and operational improvements to connect the grid, have some trail improvements, which I believe you'll hear more about later in your agenda. But it also acknowledges the recently announced Moving Florida Forward project that the governor announced for adding an express lane to I-4 from I-75 to County Line Road. So that's a big, fast investment. Initially, that project was programmed out decades, but it has funding now programmed for fiscal year 28. And this letter, we also acknowledge Plant City's desire to have some sort of trail overpass over I-4, which they've been in discussions with the department on different feasibilities. The next paragraph talks about the longstanding interest of the TPO board to be informed on any lane management strategy, meaning is it going to be tolled or access control? Will there be dynamic pricing on any of the express lane facilities that the department is developing? So it's just an acknowledgement of that long-standing request to be involved in those decisions. We also have a paragraph that acknowledges the very tight funding situation. So Jensen mentioned multiple times about the SIS reprioritization and how there have been projects that were bumped back. One of which was that grade separation at US 41. This is a long-standing freight priority. So we encourage the department to get that back in the work program as soon as practicable. And then the last substantive paragraph is acknowledging DOT's commitment to filling sidewalk gaps on the state highway system. So Chris Fellerhoff asked a question about that, and I want to just brag on DOT for a minute. The way that list of projects was developed, it was taking the TPO's carbon reduction funds, taking our high injury network, overlaying it with the state highway system, and working together to fill those gaps, get them through project development, and get built. The department is continuing to move forward with this program, even though carbon reduction funds are no longer on the table. So I think that's a real success. So I'll pause there, ask if you have any questions or comments on the letter.
Any questions? I guess I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Hannah Avenue appears to be spelled wrong in the letter.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Yes, no H at the end. I am going to fix that for the next one. Good catch.
Yeah, I guess I always struggle with these things, just being relatively new to transportation funding. Is are things getting better, right? That's what I'm curious about. You're specifically from a bike ped perspective.
How do you define better?
Are more dollars being spent on bicycle and pedestrian facilities as a ratio of dollars spent? I know, and Jensen mentioned it, and John just reminded me. Obviously, there's some projects that it's hard to determine how to allocate the funds for these things. So that's why I'm looking for perspective from the people who live this every day. Do you think when you ask for our committee's vote, our committee should be completely selfish about bike ped facilities, right? Other people will make compromises for lane widening and cars, but we shouldn't. And so sometimes it helps to have perspective on. Are we endorsing something because it's getting better? Because there's something to be said for getting better. If it's not getting better, then I don't know why we would support it. So I guess just looking for your perspective.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I won't reiterate what Jensen said about how it's difficult to get to a specific number. And I know that would be so nice to be able to really measure progress. But from my own professional opinion, what we're seeing in all the projects that are advancing and being developed is there's always thought it's built into the design manuals. DOT has been really progressive about including those elements and those facilities in all of their designs. And once it gets constructed, mostly they remain. They usually are not like value engineered out. It's just kind of part of the business as usual. So just from like a qualitative, just observing the plans as they've advanced, bike ped is always a component of the projects if the scope of that is intended to, right? Like if it's just a signal, you wouldn't see a bike ped improvement. But if it's a capacity, there will absolutely be bike ped improvements made into those designs typically.
Okay, thank you. No, I do appreciate it.
I have a question, comment. This is Chris Fellerhoff, Gale, for the record. Elizabeth, what's the amount of our Sun Trail grant? Yeah,
26.
I believe
for the Upper Tampa Bay Trail.
I believe it's about $11 million, which is kind of unheard of for the Sun Trail. It's not a big pot of funding, so y'all did. So it's a big.
Yeah, because I remember Jensen. Correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned statewide it was about 26 million. So
that was total Sun Trail allocations that you guys have in the 5-year work program. But total year to year is only 50 million, and that has to be split up between all 7 districts. So getting $11 million, like Elizabeth said, is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm point out that trails are expensive and they don't create systemic change in a way. And there's a lot of things that might be incrementally more cost effective. But the department was exceedingly generous to our county this year, and I think that's noted in the thing. But it's not systemically transformative in the way that you might want to see, but it's a big deal that we're getting the help to do this. And I can say I believe the county had committed to spend that money already, and that frees it up to do something else. And we're really grateful to get the state money, and it will allow another project to happen here. So it's going to have a trickle down effect that's very real here. So, but it's trail heavy. It's not going to make, riding your bike on the street easier in your neighborhood, but it's
I think we'll appreciate for us to.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking for perspective. So thank you.
But it's a big win.
Okay.
I just want to say, this is Sally Thompson. We have been pushing for the Upper Tampa Bay Trail for how many years?
30.
I mean, it has been a real bone of contention, so this is really good news. I mean, it's not fast enough, but nothing's fast enough.
Okay, Dave Slade.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I echo the appreciation, and the letter to me sounds good. Not being a transportation professional myself, I would wonder whether there's value in adding a substantive paragraph really to the effect as to what you indicate, Elizabeth, where, I mean, we as a BPAC would support the further and continued emphasis on bike and pedestrian safety in these and other projects going forward. Even if it may be a statement of the obvious, that would be the one comment I would have in respect to this letter. Thank you.
Brent?
Yeah, just clarification on, I know it's an action item. So what is it that you're actually going to ask us to do with both of these items?
Asking, the action is to recommend forwarding the letter to the TPO board. I've been taking notes about acknowledging the Upper Tampa Bay Trail as well as the bike ped. So I'm happy to add a paragraph into the draft letter to do that to represent BPAC's comments if that's your intention.
So the letter, just to clarify, because I see at the bottom it has Mayor Ross's, the TPO chair at the bottom of the signature. So this isn't a letter that's going, where's the letter going to after it's, I guess, approved by the TPO board?
It will be,
Yes.
Okay. So it's not just stuff coming from us, it's kind of coming from a collective of all the input from the TPO board thoughts. Okay.
Address the district secretary.
How much of this is just bureaucratic niceties, or what's the real, what's the real impact of sending this letter to FDOT? Whose desk does it land on, and does it end up in the delete folder? Like, what's the impact of it?
Secretary just.
You know, have we seen evidence in the past, this kind of comment actually something, a comment in here about Tico, the streetcar, which is great. Want, you know, more expansion, all these things. Is it really just to legally say there's an audit trail of us saying, as the TPO, this is what we really care about? Or is there some impact?
Well, as you saw in Jensen's slides, that there was like a formal deadline for MPO comments. So I know DOT takes them seriously and they want to be good partners. At the end of the day, there's not enough revenue to do everything. So would I tell you, yes, this will absolutely change the work program? I can't say that, but it is an opportunity to communicate the TPO board's preferences, thoughts, and opinions on it for DOT to consider because as Jensen said, this is tentative. It goes to the legislature and the governor. So things will still change. And this is just the formal documentation of the TPO board's position. And
Thank you.
I
I
see
appreciate
Jensen's
that.
hands up.
Thank you.
If we don't have it in writing, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth.
If you don't have to do it.
All right, any other
Questions
questions or
too, just.
Oh, Jensen, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what Elizabeth was saying. For this letter, obviously it gets circulated through the district, and I'm the district representative that is listening to what you're saying, but there's way more than just me at the department. So that's kind of where the letter goes. But as Elizabeth said, it also goes up to the legislature. And obviously they're the ones that end up making the final decision on all this when it gets wrapped up into the state budget. And so that's essentially where any comments are ending up. And that's why I encourage you guys, if you want to make comments individually too, go onto the website and make those comments as well to projects because they'll all get pushed up to the legislature when they review everything coming up next year.
So if a local legislator sees a statement on record from the TPO that, boy, we're really disappointed. We're of course, we're grateful for lots of things, but we're really disappointed this didn't get funded. That may be their cue to, you know, try to finagle something else before it's done.
Yep. I was just gonna
Polite lobbying on behalf of TPO.
as well as keep in mind the TPO board is made up of elected officials
Right,
who are also then bringing that forth. So there's some value there as well.
Right. But this is our chance as the BPAC to say, we agree that we're happy about this stuff and I guess also disappointed in the other things. And it sounds like Elizabeth would take a suggestion of any additions for the board to consider, and the board could also decide to soften or strengthen anything after they get it from us, I guess.
Okay, any other questions or feedback? Okay, if there's none, it sounds like there've been kind of a couple of suggestions that Elizabeth is happy to accommodate. So can I request a motion maybe to approve the letter with the addition of the trails and bike ped comments that were raised here?
So moved.
Okay, so David Slade, is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Then is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, so it's just a voice vote. All those in favor of approving, and I want to say this because this, you know, especially for new members, this committee has historically, I would view it in my couple years as a member, you know, rubber stamp stuff. And so I really appreciate the discussion and the feedback from staff and FDOT here. I think these are kind of things we should be talking about. We should be selfishly thinking about like PED and like I said, compromises will be made by the board and FDOT to accommodate other modes of transportation. But so I don't want to what I want to say is don't feel obligated to vote yes because you see a bunch of hands going up, right? That's not, you're not serving the committee. But I do appreciate the feedback. I'm going to vote yes for this. And so anyway, so back to the vote. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None. Okay, so motion to pass is approved unanimously. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for accepting our feedback, and thanks Jensen and Katina as well for your presentations. Okay, so are we done with Elizabeth? You're done, right? That's all you needed from us.
All good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's move on to status reports. So the first one is on Temple Terrace Multimodal Network Connection Study there's Connor.
Yes.
Hi Connor, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Connor Travis McDonald, TPO staff. I'm here to present on the Temple Terrace Multimodal Network Connection Study, which is quite a mouthful, so we'll also link for names, which will get into more branding as well. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, thank you. So I'm here to present on the Temple Terrace Multimodal Network Connection Study, and it's nice to see all of you. It's a full house, so it's nice to see. And also a little bit of a background to connect these two topics from an action item. This study is funded by those PL funds that are programmed as part of the priority number one. So that first item that Jensen mentioned, this is what funds projects like these. To the next slide. Okay, as a background, this project was requested out of Mayor Ross to kind of connect key points in Temple Terrace, so libraries, schools, and parks. It's kind of an idea similar to Boston's Freedom Trail, also similar to Tampa's Green Artery. So really, our key objective is to identify opportunities for the network of trails that connect the city's key points and highlight its history and charm. So as a little bit of a note, this trail is a little bit different from what you might imagine, as we mentioned, like the Sun Trail funding, a separated path. So this trail will be more of like an on-street facility, like the Green Artery. It's a different kind of meaning of trail. So, and some of the more specific objectives is to identify a network of safe, efficient, and accessible transportation recreation options. This also enhances connectivity amongst the neighborhoods, commercial uses, and other key points of attractions, and then finally also engage the public and key stakeholders so team. So a timeline, I did come to BPAC at the very beginning of this, so I really appreciate the comments there. Coming back, we have conducted the review of existing plans. We've analyzed the consistent conditions, as well as conducted a public survey, and I'll share those results. We've also conducted a private stakeholder workshop. We worked on concept developments. We also have what we served as a public workshop, which I'll get to now. And then next, right after BPAC tomorrow, I'll share all the comments from our committees with the consultant, Banesh. Then they'll work with that public feedback and committee feedback to create a network prioritization, then a feasibility analysis, the network mapping. And then finally, in the winter, we will come back to committees, as well as go to the Temple Terrace City Council meeting, as well as the TPO board meeting for final. So some of the highlights from the survey, more than 51% of the respondents indicated that a lack of safe routes was a factor preventing them from walking or biking. 50% selected daily or several times a week for the frequency of their trips. 70% indicated they use these trips primarily for fitness or recreation with no specific destination. They also identified parks, shopping, and neighborhoods as the top 3 destinations. And then finally, they ranked safety, connectivity, and comfort as their top 3 most important features. So from the stakeholder meeting, we of course had TPO staff. We had City of Temple Terrace engineering staff, Hillsborough County staff, some of you in the room, so we appreciate that, as well as HART, Temple Terrace BPAC representative, and some Florida College administrators. And we've also been working with FDOT. I think they just weren't able to make that meeting for the coordinated with them. So they identified a few things, one being connectivity. So they discussed opportunities and provided more information about the planning context and the network route. They identified regional opportunities, so connections to existing or planned trails networks around Temple Terrace. They also identified 56th Street and downtown CRA as having high pedestrian activity that we could connect to. So using some existing areas that were identified by the Planning Commission, by the Temple Terrace staff, by the City of Temple Terrace staff, we identified some of these community activity areas, including commercial corridors, activity centers, open space, and also parks and recreation and future economic development areas. We didn't include the hard bus stops on this map, but that is something that we did analyze. But in future maps, we'll include that. It just wasn't included in this presentation. So using those key locations, we developed this proposed network. So the blue is the draft trail route, kind of creating the loop. And then the red is some alternatives that we use in for public feedback. Kind of seeing if these connections would work best, or if there's other alternatives that we measured via a tabletop map. And then the gray, which is kind of difficult to see, but there's other opportunities that we identified as well. Some of them connecting to USF, and the new developments that's happening there with the stadium, with Mosey there as well. So we included that just because while we're here, we might as well look, right? But this, the intent again is to connect those key locations, kind of creating a loop into the terrace. So while the blue connects those key locations, we also looked at the gray again while we're at it. So some of the criteria or other destinations that we included to create that blue line. Some of the criteria were posted speed limits, the existing facilities, opportunities for separation of roads, scenery. We also included some prior planning efforts, including the master plan, Temple Terrace pedestrian master plan, the Riverside Park design, and Neptune's T District 7. The draft alignment connects up to 13 city parks, which I personally think is pretty impressive. And the draft alignment also connects some of those key civic and commercial areas like City Hall and public schools, 3 public schools, and I think 2 elementary schools. And so when we went to the public, we went to Temple Terrace's fire department's open house, which was actually very cool. But we used that because we thought it would have more like foot traffic, more people coming than we would to get a separate public safety workshop. And that was absolutely true. So we got quite a bit of feedback on that map there. So I'm glad we took that opportunity. So in that engagement effort, we sought to see on the ground knowledge with planning criteria to identify preferred alternatives. And we had separate maps, identify those red connections with their preferred alignment. So I wanted to come to you today, as this is a status report, but I wanted to do more than just say, well, here's what we're working on and so what. So I provided some discussion points, hopefully we can talk about, or if you have your own thoughts, that's perfectly welcome, and I would appreciate that as well. But some of the points, so what factors should we consider in prioritizing parts of the trail loop? So once we segment those, once we segment out the trail, what should be considered and prioritizing them for funding first? Also, what facilities should be considered in attracting people outside of Temple Terrace? I think with Mayor Ross's idea, we really want to create an attraction as well with this. And then also what unique cultural or natural features should be considered in branding efforts. With the Boston Trail, there's a line, like a brick line that connects and guides you. So something like that. And that's what we're doing about, but just ideas like that. But the next steps, we're finishing the public feedback and committee feedback. It's the last committee we're at, so I'll be providing all the comments from all the committees to the consultant. And then in the next few months, we'll be creating that prioritization and cost and feasibility analysis. And then finally, we'll be going to the Temple Terrace City Council or committees. So I will be back for action. If you have any comments or questions that you think of later, here's my email. We also have a project webpage, and I'll go back to those discussion points to get your feedback.
Is the attachment, I can't find the attachment in our packet.
I don't have the digital version up. Usually there's links to the,
I don't see, I had the whole list of links and I don't see
see this one?
Terrace.
Yeah.
The presentation in that.
And there's nothing, I don't see the presentation. Maybe I'm not, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't see Temple Terrace. I see several for Henderson Boulevard and Western Trail.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll check after the meeting. If the link wasn't distributed, we'll send out
That'd be great. May I ask a question?
Of course. Go ahead.
I'm thinking about connections with the city of Tampa. whether it was, you know, how far away from Greenspine, how far away from, you know, because we need linkages throughout. So is there any connection or proposed connection, or possible connection?
There's certainly possible connections, and that's something other committees have brought up as well, so we'll be considering that. Highly considering it, of course, and then, I believe some of those gray, like other opportunities would connect. Not 100% certain, but I think the green artery, I don't know if it reaches all the way. Maybe something in Druid Hills will connect more to the city, but, we did receive feedback on that. You know, this is within the city of Temple Terrace, and these are the limits, right? But someone who's just passing by or on a bike or pedestrian, they may not say, oh, well, now we're inside the city of Temple Terrace, right? There's not always something identifying that. So your comments definitely heard, and that it should connect existing trails, and, you know, in a broader scope, we have a more broad system. So thank you.
Yeah, a factor, if this is what you're looking for, may be to have plenty of shade to the extent that it's not a statement of the obvious, just to ensure that folks are able to maximize their use of the trail, notwithstanding the sun.
I would say the city's finishing up their tree audit they're doing right now, and they're actually going to present that on November 3rd. They had all their public properties, right of ways kind of audited for tree health and what's missing, where they need to plant more. So if that overlaps with any of this too, as they invest in putting back more shade trees back in there as well, because that's kind of what the city's known for, is that's why they're doing that as well too. That would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Connor, sorry if I missed it, but what's the total length of the loop?
I'm actually not sure.
Not sure.
I can look.
Brent, do you have a guess? Actually, it's 1 mile to 5 miles. So.
Looks like more than 1.6, maybe.
What's that?
Remember off the top of my head.
Was one of the considerations like hotels and lodging areas, like are there?
I mean, to an extent, as it relates to those like activity areas that were identified by previous studies, but we can certainly like highlight those on a map and see where they are, see if there are included in those commercial activity areas.
I do think these things, I think of cities that I visit, including Boston, when you stay on those trails, that's like a great easy thing to do, to explore and be kind of guided. You're not having to have your map open or know the name of anything, right? You're kind of walking this brick path like that in Boston. So yeah, I applaud that idea. It seems like a great project, and hopefully it's the kind of thing that then is used to justify linkage, as Sally said, to other areas. It becomes a destination that people want to get to from Tampa, maybe.
And I'm wondering if there's anything on the Temple Terrace website, because if you Google the city of Tampa, you'll find Greenspine, you'll find a number of things, but will you find anything in Temple Terrace?
It'll get added there. We're working to constantly update the cycling presence. The BPAC has recently updated some of the material that's on there with the city, as much as we can, since we're not city staff, just residents in the city, but we've asked them to like update some of the material. So whenever this gets finalized, all of that will get added into kind of the pages that are currently on there. So.
Because that gives us a tool to say, well, why don't we have this connection?
Yeah. I think, and just, I know Connor, we've talked a bunch, just given where this is. Just to say it here, I think the area that's still lacking is that southeast corner. I think you say you call it zone 5. It's really isolated from the rest of the city. And we were hoping for more connectivity for those residents, because they do, when we talk to people at the events, they feel left out, because we show them this map and talk about all the great bike, and they're like, oh, I live over here, and it's kind of sucks. And you know, they want to come over, they want to get over there. There's like a pretty Temple Terrace Highway is not great, or Davis getting up in Fowler. There's no real to get across the river into kind of that heart of Temple Terrace, and haven't seen it. Like, I'd love to know if there's, even if it's not part of the primary plan, but there's like there's additional things to look at. I know that some of that was mentioned at the fire station event, just to include that part of the city, because they're often left out of the major planning that happens there.
This is sad.
It's the southeast side, yeah, like over where Phil,
Okay.
those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. they kind of are left out in that planning. And then I will say from connecting to what hopefully will be the bypass canal trail, if the FDOT trail on Fowler gets connected, I mean, they've talked about it for a while, but it'll be USF across all the way Fowler out to the bypass or east of 75, which would connect there. So any of this that would get the trail connected up to Fowler would, how that would interconnect would be able to get connected with the bypass canal.
Years ago, on the ELAP committee, Environmental Lands Committee, relative to River Hills Park and addition, there was discussion about a pedestrian bridge across the Hillsborough River next to, I guess it's Bush Boulevard or Temple Terrace. I mean, it's probably in the archives somewhere, but I mean, this was something that was discussed for several years.
Thank you. And that's definitely something that we've heard a lot in the public feedback, especially with the southeast corner, as it being on the opposite side of the river, that there should be more connectivity with bridges. In this study, it's a little bit challenging just because bridges are so expensive. But it's very interesting to know that that's been talked about in River Hills.
This is probably going back 30 years, like to the beginning of the ELAP. I've been around since dirt. So I just remember the first few years we were talking about that.
In your research, did you find that, I don't know what they call it, apparently it's at the bottom of the list of projects. It's the one that goes across where White Way turns into the bridge through that railroad park. I know that you had mentioned the railroad park, but it goes into the Tico property.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still, I mean, it's supposedly still on the list of projects. It's just under the not funded, not explored, sits there. Is that still showing up on that project list? I don't know where
What's the project list?
I don't know if it's the TPO long, I don't know which list it is, but I do know as of 2 years ago, it was still on there, but it was in the there's the funded and what's actually happening. And then there's the dream list of stuff, and it was there, but it requires coordination with TICO because they're on the other side of the river. That's where their lines are.
Right.
But that's, I think, part of why it's never really gotten brought up. But that was that one where you kind of have that angular slant down of the red line that goes where the old rail line used to go through. It goes through that park. And I don't know if that's the bridge she was mentioning, but it would cut over and then connect down into kind of that southeast section. Again, it might not even be part of Plan A. It might be a Plan B recommendation or whatever.
Where are the schools located?
Let's see if I can remember. I know there's a few here. Well, there's 13. Sorry. I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
So there are a few here on Bullard. And then I believe there's one down here. I'm gonna have to look at it too.
Temple Terrace have across the dirt, like a network across the dirt, for these trail crossings and for access, do you any planning for that in the future?
Do you mean connected to the school district or just generally with trails?
Yeah, to connect the trails to the schools.
I'm not sure if the school district has crossing guards at those schools.
Who pays for the crossing guards?
I believe it would be the school district.
School district. Because in Hillsborough, I think it's. And then another thing, do you have a logo for the trail?
We don't, so
You don't.
hopefully we'll be able to definitely bring it into something. Something we've heard from our local roadways committee is that with the green arteries, sometimes the signs, there's signs are great, but then you're not always pausing to look at them, especially if you're biking, right? So if it's a sign that's a map that includes a map, it's not always as helpful as a line, like a brake line in a bus. We're looking completely at the braking opportunities.
Connor Brenton from USF. Where did you identify the two crossings at Bush Boulevard? Because that's, if you're biking this, it's kind of tricky places where you might want to cross it.
Last week I was 2 days. Actually, that's quite great. I could look like it.
The other map, yeah.
Do you, on Druid Hills, Right turn, oh no, it's Bullard, sorry.
Yeah, it's crossing Bullard or Bush. This looks like it says you would turn on Bush onto 56th Street, and I don't know almost any cyclist who would ever do that.
That's exactly why we selected that location. You see the red alternative.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I'm not sure what this one.
right, so the one on the east side, I believe that's part of, it would go like through the golf.
It's the Florida College.
Is that the tunnel?
Yeah,
Okay.
assuming they include that, but.
Okay.
There's plenty of time. At this time, it's a status report, so I'll make sure the link goes out for the presentation. And I guess if there's any further feedback, just send it to Connor and he'll be back in the future for request actions. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Connor. Just because we have two more status reports. So next, is Lisa here? There she is. Hey, Lisa. She's going to present on the Henderson Boulevard, Manhattan Ave Vision Plan. I looked at these slides. This is exciting stuff.
Manhattan Avenue is torn up right now. It's gonna
Okay.
be torn up for the next couple of years.
Right. Lisa Silva, TPO staff. What? I'll wake you up now, okay? All right, yes. Bad timing, but the stormwater project is going on Manhattan right now. You'll hear later why that's not so exciting to me on the timing. Okay, I am the Vision Zero coordinator. I also serve on the Bicycle and Advisory State Safety Coalition, as does your dubious here, Chris Bellerhoff. So I'm all jazzed up with really good ideas I'll be sharing with Ben Gordon for this committee too. So, but tonight I'm going to tell you about my project that I'm doing right now. I'm going to fly through this very long corridor with a lot of information and then point you through even more detailed information and technical analysis on the website, because it's kind of giving you a taste and a teaser tonight of this phase of the project. And then like Connor, I'll be back with the recommendations and the refinement of that. So this is to like tell you about it, invite you to come participate. As with many of our and all of our safety projects, we're out there to look at and improve safety, multimodality, and serve all of the users, and then, do the placemaking, et cetera, as we go along. This corridor is the two of them. So what we did is start at Kennedy Boulevard on Henderson and go down, and then catch Manhattan and go all the way down to Gandy. So much longer than the other corridors you see me bring forward. So this is over 4 miles long. So we broke it into like 9 segments. So I'm going to show you how we broke it up and some of the things we've been doing. Kicked it off with a thorough existing conditions analysis. So crash data, the counts, on the roadway, turning movements, observations, diving into the land use conditions, the state laws applying to the area, looked at some opportunities and constraints, formed a stakeholder group. So this corridor has, the fun challenge of being entirely in the city of Tampa, but not owned at all by the city of Tampa. So the southern portion is owned by unincorporated Hillsborough County, which means they maintain it. The northern portion is by the Department of Transportation. So that means they maintain that portion. So the city said, hey, we just want you to take a look at this multi-jurisdictional corridor again and help come up with a vision plan. So this is not going out and doing what the city of Tampa does really great, doing quick build, hotspot, low cost tier 1 fixes. This is not their Safe Streets for All grant where you have to get in and quickly do a 5-year plan. This is the long-term vision. What would the corridor be when it grows up, like everything in there? So that's where we're doing it. So it's very conceptual and big level and a lot that we're looking at coming through the committees right now, because we're getting ready to go out with our public engagement so we can see and test the ideas that we have and get specifics from the humans and different users that are on the corridor. So there's a big, very good, very well thought out and organized existing conditions analysis report and technical memoranda on the website. I'm going to hit some of the highlights of that this evening. So we did the general overview, looked at the context of the roadway, looked at the roadway classification,
the different types of crashes, the operations. We walked the entire corridor. Lisa got lots of her steps in that day. We broke it into 2 different days. So 2 miles up, 2 miles back. So we drug a wagon with us so that we would make sure that we were very aware of the modal challenges for anyone on wheels, in a wheelchair, on bike, a scooter, etc. We had to go 3 blocks out of the way one time. I mean, you can see the photos. It's just kind of horrific out there. So walked on it with all of the stakeholders, had some like sidewalk stoppers members with us. So they were like, yeah, I've got 5 schools along the corridor and they cross here. So like some of the big ideas we were even like dreaming of as we were walking, we're like, yeah, that won't work here. So it's really, really important to get that local context and input. So yeah, like looked at parts of it are on the high injury network, looked at the target speeds that are adopted in the Tampa Boost plan, used all that. Portions of it are truck route, portions of it are not, portions are in the city, portions are in the county. The truck routes don't match up. Another fun fact is that the survey is like from 1941-ish or something like that. It doesn't actually line up with the real world. So that's one task that we're identifying as will be a next step is you got to get a real survey. The right away is like 55 feet in width down to 90, like got some 95 utility constraints, looked at peak hour. There's some very low in at the northern portion, a lot more at the southern. Looked at all the really great bicycle and trail maps and the visions for them so that we could see what's planned out there and what's existing. Looked at the safety and crash data, as I mentioned, so we got like some heat maps here of the different types, and so that fed into some of the recommendations you'll see as we unveiled our public engagement. There's some fun photos from the audit, and you can see there are many modes of users out there trying to get around, but then many vehicles parked and or using the sidewalk or the zero sidewalk on the corridor. So we got some land use issues too. So there's a lot that impacts the corridor because of the older style and non-conforming uses out there. So I said, hey, land use planners on the Plan Push team, I need you as stakeholders on my project. So they've been embedded in the project and assisting us as we go along. And then they've been informing us of all the comprehensive plan and code, land development code revisions that are coming. So those have been important topics informing us as we get ready and go forward here. All the observations and analysis from the field reviews went into the existing conditions report. We even drove the corridor at night and did light analysis. So lots of data. And then we looked at some draft alternatives. So we got mapped all the existing corridor. Here's where you can kind of see it's really funky along the corridor. And other places where it's just like right on the corridor. So we got, like I said, 9 sections are all analyzed and laid out in the report. And you can see where the right of ways like all askew. And then we got 6-legged intersections that come together. We're like, hey, might not be so fun. People are, oh, it's so long to sit there at the light. I just need to go here. And we're like, oh, the timing would be one thing to fix for the left turn and stuff. That's very constrained out there. We're like, hey, how about some roundabouts where you just like have to go through? That'd help also because this is an evacuation route. You don't have to worry about the lights being out and for evacuations and hurricane recovery. So looked at some visions. You'll see when you you'll come to the charrette where we're gonna have a roll up your sleeves, get to our workshop on November 12th. So how I remember it, it's like Veterans Day is on the 11th. The next day you're gonna be at the charrette. So that evening at 6:30 on the corridor, jam flat, library, ample parking, bus stop out front, bike parking. Come on down and give us your feedback. I'm going to get to more of the details on that, but I got a little ahead of myself. We'll show you what we're proposing at some of these. We have a cross section of it's a recommendation that's very pedestrian focused with all the tools in the toolbox for that. One that's very bicycle focused and then a hybrid. So we're like testing out like which part of the corridor, which kind of cross section, what's most appropriate. There aren't bike facilities throughout the whole corridor, just on the southern part. Here's one of those envisioned roundabouts. You'd have to do some, right away acquisition to make some of these things work. We've also looked at like maybe you just close the segment like at Morrison on some of these. But when we started discussing that, some of the stakeholders like, oh, if you close that, we got a school that releases that one over. So that's why we're like, yeah, you have to test all these with the public. Maybe a series of roundabouts would just slow it all down. Mid-block crossings is very long and straight and has a very generous median now. So we're like, let's maintain that. It'd be kind of expensive to redo the whole roadway, but let's put in some mid-block crossings at appropriate locations. So again, we want the public to help us identify what's best there. Obviously, where some of the bike facilities are imagined as cross, community ones, but where else? So this would be an example of one potential design for that block crossing. Way to get across, say this is a very long corridor. A and B, because the conditions change, 9. Okay, here we go. Next step. So all the potential alternatives, which I kind of like teased and told you about. Got a bike pedestrian focus, bike focus, hybrid focus, kind of blending them all. Which one's gonna be the best one for the corridor and what's the continuity of all of that. So the charrette, as I mentioned, is November 12th in the evening. We're gonna have roll plots of all 4 aisles laid out, and we're gonna like sticky notes, markers, come tell us what you like, don't like, yay, nay, all that stuff. We got some countermeasures, visuals that we're gonna ask for you to put dots on there. Green, red, yellow, orange, whatever. So you're going to help us have these conversations with our client, the city, like which of these are going to work for you going forward so that we can take all the feedback from the technical analysis and then all the public and then I'll help them form the recommendations in the adopted final vision plan. Not everybody is going to be available on November 12th. So I'm doing a parallel complimentary online version of the same thing. There's gonna be a little survey, asking questions, like how to get around the border, what you want to see, blah, blah, blah. So there's a small survey, and then there's a feedback bank. Just like the roll plots, you go on to it and do your virtual post-its. So, oh, there's flooding here. Oh, this light is out there. It's too dark, blah, blah, blah. So, oh, there's an example of the little things we're gonna have the little dots on. Here's some of the cross sections, but this were the rough drafts. Got the final ones coming out, the engagement charrette. So it is not the come yell at Lisa about the stormwater project closing the road meeting. It's also not come yell at the team about the comprehensive plan was talking about higher density on the corridor. That has nothing to do with this one. This was a corridor charrette about the roadway design ultimate vision. So if you could come provide that, your big ideas of what you think the corridor should be when it's all grown up, graduated from college, that would be awesome. So November 12th, day after Veterans Day, 6:30 in that community room at the library. And then this is the website, because on the website you can find all of the reports, the PowerPoints, blah, blah, blah. And then the flyers in your packet. Bring all your friends and neighbors. And then also send them to the website, because any day now I'm going to have the survey live so people can see it and participate in it. Because again, open right before the charrette and then after the charrette, and then we'll close it and digest all the results and then come back to you for the final stuff. That's your very quick form.
Thank you, Lisa. In the interest of time, if anybody has a quick question, maybe I'll entertain that now, but everybody knows how to provide feedback to us, so we don't need to do that here. But if there's any questions for Lisa, being none, okay. Thank you, Alice, been very patient. This is also an exciting presentation I'm looking forward to, so.
Yeah. Well, good evening and thank you to Chairman Ellsworth and committee members and also Ben for inviting us to present today. The West Shore Interchange, you probably either heard about in the past or are hearing about it now. It's a $1 billion project that's going to be constructed in several work packages, so in phases over the next 10 years. Yes, that's right, 10 years, I said it. But this presentation focuses on the trail connectivity that the project will offer at the end of the 10 years. Now, hopefully we can get some of that built early, right? That was my hope, and that's what I push for behind the scenes. So this is a system-wide view that you can see pretty much from the bay to the river. Many pieces of the trail network has already been built. You may be using some of these frequently. I know I used the piece on the far left from the, was it Skyway Park, all the way down to BPAC that comes down into Cypress Point Park. And I don't know if you use that one or not. And also the West Tampa Greenway is one that gets closer into the area that we're going to be talking about. And I know Christine is an avid fan of the Gray Street neighborhood Greenway as well. Actually, during World Card 3 Day, and by the way, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Alice Price. I'm actually with Atkins Realis, but I'm representing the Florida Department of Transportation today. So now you can be faced with the name. Our team did participate in World Card 3 Day and had the pleasure of riding all the way from the NetWest facility all the way across down over to Igor and all the way back. And it was actually a very lovely ride. That was one of the first few times I've been on the cycle track. So that's a great facility as well. FDOT is definitely committed to making these great connections, and especially within the West Shore project. So what I'm going to do is kind of take you through, because you probably also knew Howard Franklin Bridge just opened up for the general purpose lanes in March, I believe it was. So starting from the west, there's going to be there already is. If you've gone and looked over a little bit, you can kind of see the 12-foot trail that's on the north side of the bridge. It will eventually connect all the way from Pinellas into the Rio Street area. We're going to show you that up close, a little bit closer. It's barrier separated from the lanes of traffic and also separated by a 10-foot shoulder. So it feels a little bit further away from the traffic than what it looks like on this graphic here. And the path is actually scheduled to open in spring of 2026. So I'm going to show you an overhead view. It's a little difficult to see because it's kind of small, but the middle little set of graphics are 4 scenic overlooks. So there'll be a little pause you can pull off. They're about, get the dimensions for you. They're about 15-foot wide by 144-foot long. There are 4 of them. And that's where you'll see there's a couple pictures of the sail structures there. So there'll be a little shade. There'll be some benches. There'll be some trash receptacles. We tried to convince them to put some sort of bike repair. I'm not sure that we'll have that there, but there are other opportunities for that too that we'll share. And then the other little boxes that you see along the sides are primary and secondary features. If you've driven over the bridge, which I did this weekend, I started to see some of the sails pop up. You may be wondering, is that solar panels? What's DOT doing? It's actually part of the aesthetic features that were voted on by the public, and they're starting to go up, which is pretty exciting too. So when you're on this trail, they're basically on each side of you, it's about a 48-inch, about 4-foot high barrier with a railing on top. And it's a little different on the bay side than it is on the trail side. And I actually need to get you some new photos because now that some of the aesthetics are going up, some of the railing, more of the railing is up now. This was back from June of last year. You can kind of tell Elaine is about the size of Christine. So I'm a little taller, to be a little lower on me, but that's the size of the railing there. And then these were the pads up on the far left side. You can see some of the pads and some of the benches they'll be going in, nice concrete. Those are already in, and they've gotten farther now. So continuing the trail conversation through the next project is the, we call it the seawall project. And same connects that, or continues that 12-foot trail all the way through off of the Howard Franklin Bridge onto the causeway and then into the West Shore area. So I said 12 foot, it is bi-directional, it is made out of concrete. I actually have some better, I need to get out there and get some of the better pictures because they have the railings up now, which I don't have in my pictures that I'm gonna show you. Does tie into the Rio Street trail network, will likely open up about the same time next year, 2026. And it's, like I said, here's some photos. And now they have some of the railings up there, and they're a little bit lower here since it's right on, and it's next to a ramp here, so you're not next to that 75 mile an hour. I'm giving that some grace there because 105 mile an hour traffic. It's a little slower on the ramp there. So that's the seawall project. And it's going to come into West Shore. So what you're looking at here is West Shore. The airport would be right at the top of the screen here. This is I-275 coming across, and SR-60 as it comes down from the Veterans Expressway. And what you're seeing here is yellow is like the existing sidewalk. Purple magenta color is some of the existing trail that's already in place. The blue like neighborhood greenways. And then the green hatching is actually just 75. And then this line here is the route of the proposed trail. So as I mentioned, coming off the Howard Franklin, it comes in Rio Street, we'll go up north on Rio Street. So that's this, if you can see my pointer over here, this is Rio Street, which doesn't today connect to southbound or to the south side of the interstate, but it will in the future. And I'm going to show you what that connection looks like in a little bit closer up view. But the opportunity there is obviously to be able to not only go to the north, you could also go to the south. Again, I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. And then tracing that across, I would say, I think we've biked it a couple times now, and I think we think it's about 2 miles for this particular piece. So from the Howard Franklin Bridge over to about Lois Avenue. When I say West Shore Trail, that's not the official branding, that's just what we're calling it because it's being built with the project. So this is a little closer up rendering view of what that Rio Street connection could look like. Let me get that. So in our latest plans, the Rio Street is going to go over 275 here. In our prior plans, the interstate went over Rio. So we were at grade on a bike. This time we're going to be going up and over the interstate. It's about a 4 to 5% grade, a little bit more than what you would want. But we have some plans for how hopefully we can provide some refuge areas or get going pretty fast that can pull into this area that I'm showing over here. There's an opportunity for a trailhead, a comfort station, bike repair. As you so think about it, you're coming off the Howard Franklin Bridge. If you're fit enough to do that, I don't know what that would be. This would be one of your first places to be able to kind of take a rest. We can have water, refreshment, shade structures. I heard someone mention shade a second ago on the other project. And that's right about where Rio and Gray Street would, so that little piece just on the southeast corner of Rio and Gray is an opportunity for that. Let's see if there's anything else I want to mention. So the trail would actually border the east side of Rio Street. So what you see in blue are potential. I did not do that. I don't think. That's good. It does talk its wheels. Sometimes it does, and I don't feel very about it. So the blue turquoise that you see, kind of hard to see on your screen up there. You're real close, you can see it. Those are where the trail connections would belong. Again, the commitment is to try to have 12-foot throughout bidirectional. So it would come along the east side of Rio and touch down here, and an opportunity for a refuge here. If you're coming off the Howard Franklin, you come in here, and we've actually talked about, let's keep the trail going underneath here and tie it into here, and then also be able to go north on Rio. And that little piece on Rio is already built. The city built that a year and a half ago, and that's in pretty good shape. The part that I'm concerned the most when
on, welcome any comments on is like how to better tie in that southern portion. This is Hoover, the intersection of Kennedy and Hoover. It's already kind of crazy there. I know we can tie into the existing sidewalk, but to have that, road world class connection, like Christina always promotes, we're still looking to see what that connectivity looks like. And then I'll show a couple of renderings of what it could look like there. And so this one is looking south towards the West Shore Plaza. And you can see that opportunity area there. It has already been cleared, so it is white slate, if you will. So again, the 12-foot trail coming towards you. There will be a signal. They will be able to touch down there. And then, like we talked about, some sort of pull-up possibly, so that if you build your speed up, you're not just running straight across the street. You can run into that trail refuge area. We've talked about, like I said, bike repair, shade, water fountains, or other amenities that might be facing to the public there. This is looking kind of back towards the airport, not perfectly north, but a little bit more northeast. So you can just kind of see that grade as it's coming over I-275. There's about 17 foot of clearance underneath the interstate, and then also that same amount of clearance at Executive Drive here. So when you're looking here, it's about 17 feet above you. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to tell you about the trail there. So yeah, you're looking at Rio Street from, say, that opportunity area. It's like a 3.5 story break. The trail on that bridge would be separated from the travel lane by a concrete barrier, and then a 6-foot fence on the other side on top of a concrete barrier to keep people from jumping and things over on the interstate side. One thing we're working with the city on is there is a gap in the plan right now, or not in the plan, but in the physical infrastructure right now, and that's that red block that you see at Cypress Point Park. Right now, there's a little crosswalk that takes you across to the sidewalk that's on the east side of Rio. We'd like for that to be a direct connection right into the park, right into the air truck connection that you can see in yellow there. The city has it designed, and it's not a hard connection to make. It's just finding the funding. So we'll be working on that as well. And then once you kind of make that connection, you can make it all the way up to the BPAC and up to Park Campbell Causeway and across that facility there. So that's pretty exciting. If you go the opposite direction, this is Cypress Street. There's already a pretty nice wide sidewalk underneath there that we use a lot for trails and use it on our bike rides that we've been doing recently. That will be maintained and improved. They're going to be, right now the walls are kind of slanted there, so we're going to straighten out those walls, add some additional lighting. I think there is a bit of widening in there too, so the length that you would ride underneath is a little bit longer in the future than what it would be today. But the idea is that you could either take a left and turn up and head on that frontage road toward 89 Park, and the airport has a trail connection up there too. Or you could go south along the frontage roads towards Lemon Street. This is a little breakout of the Occident Restaurant Trust. We're kind of just shifting over a little bit. I don't want to ignore, I heard Wade loud and clear, and Wade's not here today, but we are looking for sure. I think you brought it up too, Ben, is that connection between the frontage road and Lemon Street, and making sure that's a premium connection. Right now it's shown as the Greenway, right? And it feels safe right now, but in the future it will likely be developed. So we want to pay a little closer attention to what that looks like, make sure we have some sort of 12-foot trail that matches the rest of the network through there. So we'll be working on that. So if you come down frontage road and then Lemon Street, you would come into a new roundabout at Lemon and Occident here. And so there's opportunities there for public art, for landscaping. It's one of the few areas that we actually have some landscaping room. So that's gonna look a little different in the future. And then you would be able to either proceed on, in that contraflow lane that exists today towards West Shore, or you could come south underneath Oxenden and Trust. There'll be a 12-foot trail on either side, on both sides. And that would tie in right there at the back of the West Shore Plaza. Okay, so I know you probably heard the West Shore Plaza is going to be redeveloping, so there's exciting opportunities to be able to tie in our plans with what they're doing too. And then that trail would continue both ways, north side of and the south side, but primarily on the south side, it would continue towards West Shore Boulevard. And then in the West Shore area, there's some opportunities for some additional hardscape, maybe another bike repair, some more shade, or some other type of amenities there at West Shore. And then that 12-foot path would also traverse either side of West Shore going north. And then also continuing east towards Trask, and then on towards Lotus. And then at Trask, it would also have 12-foot on either side. And especially if you're familiar with where the multimodal center, the DOT purchased the Doubletree Hotel a few years ago. So that multimodal center is, will be featured, if I can get my notes together, right in here where the north arrow is. That's a planned multimodal center in the future. It'll be a construction staging during this project, but afterward, it's going to be a beautiful blank slate for developers to come in and hopefully promote our transit initiatives here and here. And so it's important also for the bicycle pedestrian connectivity in that facility as well. So we want to make sure and connect there. Yep. So,
So sorry, are you saying that there'll be connectivity from Trask to Cypress? Or is this just talking about the south side?
Yeah,
This is going all the way to the river.
yeah, so what I should have said.
I'm going to talk about the north-south.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so three new north-south connections.
Because right now, really kind of West Shore is the only way to get.
And Trask.
Okay.
West Shore goes, right, and then now there'll be Occident, Trask, and West Shore. And people ask me this too, the design speeds on Occident, Trask, and Rio 25. So hopefully nice, we'll keep them. West Shore still, I'm gonna say 35 or 45. People out there today, it's probably 40. Yeah, it's a little hot, but maybe the county comes in and takes a look at their resurfacing project. So the opportunities, yeah, do you want me to pause?
No,
Yeah.
no, sorry, thank you.
No, you're good.
You're trying to understand the picture.
So we've talked, hopefully I've mentioned a few of these things along the way. Plenty of opportunities, obviously, for connectivity of the shared use path and some amenities along the way. We're looking to the community to tell us, I know you asked about branding earlier, which is a great question. To me, it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to brand something that's, really fantastic. Wayfinding, definitely opportunities there. We talked about static wayfinding kind of being, or even just something along the trail itself that says West Shore, or says River to Bay, or it says whatever the community wants to say.
The further you go down that path, there's already a path that's right up on the wall of the highway.
Okay,
I don't know if you're allowed to put murals on that wall.
which one?
Well, I don't know exactly the streets, but I know once you get past Himes, between Himes,
Okay.
right on 275.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
like
275 trail. The 275 trail, yeah.
and, I
Let's-
mean,
let's
somebody
bring it up.
could graffiti it, but
Yeah.
if there was a,
Let's bring it up. I mean, public art is a big opportunity throughout here. So whether that's in sculpture, whether that's in paint, I think painting walls is safer. That these days, just politics wise, it's going to be very honest than painting pavement. So, I think all those things should be on the table.
I also want just a quick contract. We are going to adjourn in 5 minutes. So,
Let's just,
maybe kind of figure out what you want us to
that
take
was it.
away.
That was it.
Yeah.
So, we just
very
want to
exciting.
invite you to bike audit. Christina's helps the West Shore Alliance organize 3 of these. And our next one is with the city itself. And then we'd love to open that up to anybody that wants to participate. It's going to be November 11th. And so if you want to get on a bike with us, let me know. And love to have you join us. And that's it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Not a girl, it's a holiday.
Oh.
Yeah. It's Veterans Day, so.
So everybody can show.
So we're together.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, Sally, you had a
I'm
quick
I'm
question.
assuming that you're familiar with the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. The Florida Gulf Coast Trail, proposed Florida Gulf Coast Trail will go from Tampa to Naples, and this is part of it. And as far as branding, there may be many brands for different portions, but ultimately, we've got a sign for the Florida Gulf Coast Trail, and, you know, it connects all the way.
Great, yeah. I honestly, I was looking east west, but it's, I'm sure it's gonna network, but I did not.
I can send you information on that, but I hear you.
So just real quick, for the Reno path, is that going to be the primary in and outbound path to the bridge trail?
Yes.
Okay, so that will be completed at the time that they say that it's open for pedestrian cyclists to get
Let me
on.
think about what you're asking. I'm wondered about the timing of this too, because if they're gonna open the Howard Franklin, it needs some places to go.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a maintenance of traffic in my mind, a maintenance of bicycle and pedestrian traffic along Rio. So, let me do some investigation on what that looks like, but intent would be yes, that we could get you, you don't want somebody coming off the bridge and not having a place to go. They need to be able to at least get up to Cypress Park.
Because are they gonna open up the west side at the same time when they say the trail's open? Like, are they gonna have a place on the, like, when you go across the bridge and get into St. Pete?
It connects at 4th Street, so you can get on at 4th Street. I think there's a little parking, if I'm not mistaken, is that right? I'm gonna have to look at that.
Okay.
Yes, they were the parking on the.
Good evening, BPAC. I'm Christina Costa with Pedal Power Promoters. I'm here to support Alice, and I'm also engaged by the West Shore Alliance on this project. So it seems that we'll have the executive drive connectivity to the Howard Franklin Bridge, maybe with or without Rio, but you'd still be able to go west and connect to the Howard Franklin. If sooner than the Rio may be done, but Alice will be up to it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Alice. This is, yeah, very exciting stuff. I'm super excited about the Howard Franklin path and just like you, Brent, I'm wondering, am I gonna have to drive to bike over that? But hopefully, so thank you. Okay, we have 1 minute left. So I want to give Ben that minute to talk about this Gasparilla Children's Parade volunteer request, which I think was also in the packets, and then we'll adjourn.
Okay, several housekeeping things for me to touch on actually, which I am bound to stumble over. But first off, Dale told me that the link to the Temple Terrace presentation should be fixed, so thank you for that.
It is.
Yeah, on to that later, but let's see. Oh, yeah, so the children's parade request is, we heard from the Tampa Police Department recently about this, and they are looking for volunteers again. The children's parade in Gasparilla will be on January 18th. And they're looking for both volunteers and for bicycle lights that they can pass around. So I definitely wanted to share that with all of you. I'll make sure you have the contact information with their point person on that. But so I know BPAC has had quite a role in this too.
What did the volunteers do with that event?
Yeah, it's a John Kabegi. In the past, we've helped with the bike rodeo. So help set up, like I've done the, basically the instruction to the kids to get them on the bikes and get them to do the course. The safety course. So, I gotta check dates, but I'm definitely interested in volunteering.
Right.
Be my, I think, 4th time with it. So
Yeah.
It's a fun event.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Did you have
Yeah, that's
anything else?
Why don't you reach out to the sign up to volunteer?
They have a sergeant on hand. I'll make sure.
He'll send out the contact.
Oh, we have another meetings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there was one more thing that I wanted to put on your radar. We received an inquiry a few weeks ago from Charles Hines with the Trust for Public Land, which a lot of you probably know is a really active conservation organization across the country, but they're also involved in local trail planning efforts, and work around the Florida Gulf Coast Trail in particular. And they had a donor who was interested in doing something to improve trail and park facilities along the Gulf Coast Trail in this area. We brought some people together and had a discussion, and they have submitted an application now for that grant. It hasn't been approved or disapproved yet, one way or another, but I can't say anything for certain so far, but it's exciting because it could be $200,000, have some volunteers put in shading all along Courtney Campbell Causeway. And that would probably be sometime in May next year, I think. But anyway, they reached out to us, told us that they had submitted that and that they are also interested in another short list from us of just potential locations where quick interventions can be made to improve, make improvements along the Gulf Coast Trail. So we definitely would like BPAC's input on that short list.
So is that going to be a status report for November, or are you going to send out emails on the contact?
Probably, and yeah, definitely. If anybody has any immediate thoughts on like building fencing dams that I can write down even now.
Okay. Well, so because we're at past 7:30, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. But anyone who has feedback, maybe stick around afterwards and share it with.
Yeah, and it's not fencing.
Okay. All right. Great meeting. Thanks for everyone's participation and have a good night. Sorry we're trying to put like meetings adjourned. Thanks.
I remember very long nights. Back in Tony there. Temple Terrace.